What I'm about to show you is one clip of a much longer discussion, a clip where I don't even need to talk since my colleague nicely encapsulates the spirit of Common Core in making her connections to the International Baccalaureate program. What she highlights in this clip, beyond any singular connection to IB or magnet schools, is how Common Core is really about the student, how all stakeholders are responsible for implementing Common Core, and how Common Core's rigorous, student-centered approach to learning can spill over into other disciplines.
But if you look at the kinds of things that you've talked about, and letting the student be the driver of a lot of what happens, that's an inquiry-based model. It is a focus, whether or not we're going to call it an IB learner profile, is very much tied in a lot of ways to an IB learner profile. So you want a student to be a good communicator, you want them to be principled, you want them to take risks, you want them to be inquirers, you want them to be knowledgeable. I mean, there's a long list. So there's a nice marriage, I think, that can happen between Common Core and IB. So that, for me personally, I think the more I learn about it, the better I can communicate that to parents from an IB perspective, so that Common Core doesn't somehow get in the way of, or, well, if I learn this way, then this other issue will be a problem, I won't be successful in this class because this is different, or what have you. So, and the other part of my job is public relations, basically. So as magnet coordinator, I do nothing but talk about, in addition to IB, what makes the school that we're in different from other schools, and what can your child expect to get here. And I think suddenly all schools are going to have people whose responsibility it is to put that face on to parents, or with parents, in terms of explaining the way that your child has been taught is getting ready to shift. And as you said, sort of what the parent's role in that is, and the student role will change, the teacher role will change. Okay, so we can explain that to them, but we're also going to be asking something of them. Yes. So that presents, I think, a lot of challenges. So my hope would be, this is not as much a question as it is just a statement, my hope would be that the professional development comes sooner rather than later, because I think it's going to be extremely important for all stakeholders to get their brains around what Common Core is and what it isn't, as you said, so that it can be implemented the way it's supposed to be, the way the people who are responsible for creating this envisioned it to be, and for students to get the real benefit. If it's not done correctly, you won't see the level of student achievement. And I do think, based on what you're telling me about English, I don't know as much about math, but I think that you'll see benefits, even though Common Core is only written for English and math. You'll see the benefit of that approach dribble out sort of to other disciplines. So if you're looking at informational text, I mean, there are all kinds of amazing things that I think will happen in science as a result of that. And of course, math is going to inform science as well. But history, which is my discipline, a lot of what we ask students to read really is an informational text, and asking them to think critically about what they're reading and evaluate sources. So I think once a student has enough training in English, in that approach to how they learn, it's inevitable they'll bring that to a different classroom. And I know there have been like essential standards written for history, and there's an implementation that will happen in history too, but it's probably not quite the same. It's driven by Common Core, but it's not exactly what English would look like. So I guess for me, it's kind of like watching a theory of knowledge class, like watch a student go through TOK as an IB student, and watching them take what they learn about how to ask questions, and the focus being how to ask the question and not always what the answer is, right? That they take that into other classes, and I think Common Core has the potential to have the same impact. So a student is actually applying constantly.